Okay, we're officially live, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our conversation today. Um, Let me make sure I don't have a double talk here. Okay, there we go. So thank you everyone for joining. We have our friends actually in the Zoom. So if you want to join the Zoom, you're more than welcome to do that. The Facebook um, live, what was I going to say? Flyer has the Zoom link if you want to join. So thank you, Dr. Cosgrove, for being on. Ma'atin, thank you so much for being on. And Shaquilla is on, and my co-host. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Good evening, everybody. This is Rodney Smith. Thank you, Sister Kamilah, for allowing me to be on tonight. Unfortunately, I am in the car headed to take care of some other things, but I didn't want to miss this important conversation because just when we think we finally have something, we start to wonder, do we really? But more importantly, if we don't, why not? And what could be done better the next time? So we should have a robust conversation. And then, as always, just think you have a chance to talk to who might be your future school board representative and Miss Kamilah Bywaters. Please don't be shy to ask her questions because better to ask her than to ask me because she knows a heck of a lot more than me. So let's get this thing cracking.
Yeah. And our friends in the Zoom, you're welcome to join in, chime in at all times. Listen, I have our friends are on here. Donna's on here as well. Thank you to the general for just showing up. And Miss Amy, thank you for chiming in as always and for your support. Again, I'm Kamilah Bywaters. I'm running for the Board of School Trustees for District E. And I really look forward to flipping the seat in District E. I really do. I'm really excited about it. Our campaign has been gaining momentum, and I look forward to serving our community. And one thing that I was reflecting on this week is that I don't want to speak for the community. I want to speak with the community. But before we get started in the conversation, I do want to give an opportunity for anyone to shout out any events that they have coming up. I want to make sure that we're supporting each other and that we're showing up and really supporting those who are doing like some phenomenal work in the community. Martin, I know you have an event coming up, Dr. Cosgrove. Would you like to share?
Sure. It just happens that this Thursday. Well, first of all, thank you for having me this evening, and thank you for this invitation. I'm looking forward to this conversation as always. Just happens that Dr. Cosgrove as well as Laura Perkins are the guests on my presentation this Thursday. And we're talking about ranked choice voting, open primaries, and one of the seats that are up for election. Well, it has several seats. Is NSDE, and so Laura Perkins will be talking about her run as well as what does NSDE really do, because that is a lot of people don't understand what the role is and why it's important to have some right people in those positions. So I'm looking forward to that event on this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. on Zoom. Flyer is on many of our Facebook pages.
Awesome. And do you have another one too, a multicultural event coming
Oh,
up?
yes. So on January 20th, we have our monthly multicultural game day where we have different games from different cultures. This particular month, we have some Polynesian board games that we're going to be talking about. But we also talk about uh, courageous conversations on race, anti-race relations, anti-racism relations, and trying to have conversations and teaching moments from different perspectives. Thank you again.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being on with Martin and the 100 Black Men to talk about open primaries, which interestingly, people like, oh, that's open primaries are so new. Our school board races are already open primary top two. All the local races are already open primary. The ballot question that's going to be up on ballot question 3 is only saying, let's just do all of the races open primary, because then it allows every voter to talk to every candidate. But on Saturday morning at 9 a.m., we're going to talk about Shirley Chisholm and who she was. She was the first woman to run to be president under one of the major political parties, obviously the first Black woman who ran. She was the first Black woman to be elected to Congress, where she served quite a while. And her autobiography is titled Unbought and Unbossed. So we're going to talk about what that meant to her. because she went up against the Democratic machine in New York and she fought back and she won. So I thought for Martin Luther King Day weekend, we should, reserve Monday to talk about Dr. King, but spend Saturday talking about Shirley. And then we're going to be doing some candidate forums. And so we're going to do a big candidate forum for all of our local races at the College of Southern Nevada on March 30th. And we'll have all the down ballot races, because every time we have a presidential year, all the down ballot races seem to kind of get pushed to the side. So we want to make sure that people are aware that we have school board races, regents, mayor's race, city council, all those really important races so that people can talk to those candidates.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for doing all those. Mr. Rodney, do you have announcements?
Actually, I do. This Saturday, January 13th, we will be out at the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. statue right at the corner of Cary and MLK Boulevard. And the reason why we'll be there is because at 3 p.m., we will start the 16th annual, that's right, 16th annual Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Candlelight Vigil. And we will have some dynamic speakers out there. But one of the parts about it that I like the most is usually when you have events, it's always someone talking to the people. But at this event, there's a segment of it where we open up the microphone for the people to speak. And we're going to share in the legacy of Dr. King. We're going to talk about the significance of the statue and its location, so a little history behind it. And of course, we will have some dynamic speakers. And maybe something that is of note, it will be my last candlelight vigil with me at the helm of it. 16 years is more than enough. And there are some dynamic younger people out there who would like to be involved and would like to sort of take the helm of an event like that and keep the legacy going, which is hugely important. So this Saturday at 3 p.m. at the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. statue on the corner of Cary and MLK will be the 16th annual Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Candlelight Vigil, and my last one. Come out and support the event, and also come out and meet who will be taking over the helm as I step away.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rodney, for your service. I know you've been very diligent and really creating a space for us to come. And oh my gosh, I just got some news, but I'm gonna say it in a second. So thank you for the work that you've done. And I really hope that, I can help find somebody. But I really hope somebody will jump into that space, because I'm sure it's a really great opportunity for us to build community and to, honor those who have gone before us.
Sister Kamilah,
yeah.
if I could get an alibi, I want to sort of foot stomp that last point that you made.
Okay.
Because the reason for doing the candlelight vigil was because there was no free event that weekend in the historic West Side.
That's
and
true.
We thought it was important that there is something right there in the community. But on top of that, we thought that it was an opportunity for the community to come together and put something together for the community. So no one is paid. It's all volunteers, and it's people from the community that has kept the annual candlelight vigil alive, and it's people from the community who will keep it alive. And however good it is or not, it's what the people of the community has done. And the concept behind it is great to talk about things that we can do, but we have to build the capacity of doing. And so the candlelight vigil, because it is open to the community to participate, whoever is there because they want to be there. Whatever politician, elected official, appointed official is there because they want to be there. And this is a community event in the truest sense of the community, to show our community that we have most of what we need, and we don't have to always wait for other people to give it. We can do a lot ourselves, and that's what you'll see in this candlelight vigil.
Okay. Yeah, and I think you made a really good point about, just having a free event. Okay. Well, thank you. I do want to let you know that Trustee Cavazos is on and she's in the chat, and she said, "Thank you, Rodney Smith, for all your hard work and your advocacy. It is so appreciated." And she also said that there are 4 school board seats up this year, with 3 of them open seats. And those open seats are in A, B, and District E.
Ooh,
That's
A,
in
B, and District E. And who's
District
currently
E.
residing in those seats?
So right now, A is that Katie?
That's B.
B is Katie. A is Trustee Guzman. E is Lola Brooks. And B is Katie.
And which one of those are you running for again, Sister Kamilah?
District E.
I just want to foot stamp it. So make sure you all go out and vote in District E so we can get somebody that's really about the people's business and our students in District E.
Okay, that's new information. That's new information that we got. So hopefully, you know, I'm ready for a fight, but hey, let's move forward. But so let's go ahead and get started in our conversation. We wanted to talk today about teachers. If you remember last week, we were doing a big shout out like, hey, teachers got their contract. We're excited, but come to find out, it's not what some teachers are hoping for. And it may look better for new teachers than it does for teachers who've been in longer, who served some years, and also for teachers who have master's degrees or PhDs or have been in with their bachelor's degrees and have served for a number of years. So I would really love for us to have a conversation around that. Superintendent Jara had an interview that we can talk about for sure. I can put the link in the chat for everyone to look at it real quickly if they want to. But there was an interview with Darcy Spears, and it seemed like most of the blame from Jara's end was put on CCEA. And then some of the articles that I'm reading from CCCA is like it's on Jara. And really the conversation is that there's a big equity issue in regards to how the percentages and what the money, what the salary would look like now. I know Dr. Cosgrove had a really interesting, we had a pre-conversation before the conversation. So I'd really like for her to talk about a little bit about what she has experienced with her work in higher education and how it's similar to what's happening now.
So, you know, it's interesting that I am the vice chair of the Nevada Advisory Committee to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. And we are about to release a new study that we've been working on this week about teacher shortages. And one of our big findings is that the state of Nevada is starting to do a pretty good job of recruiting teachers in, but doing a lousy job of keeping veteran teachers retained. And it seems like this is just following a pattern where most of the focus was on recruitment and getting new people in, and not any focus on retaining the veteran teachers. And as fast as they bring people in, people are leaving. And so we never really get to the point where we're building up, getting away from those teacher shortages because we're not retaining teachers. And I can tell you in higher ed, when we have done adjustments because we had our salaries frozen during the recession that happened in the 20 teens, you always have to make sure if you are bringing the salary at the bottom of the scale, so the new people are getting a salary boost, it's going to cause compression within the steps. And so if you're bringing up the bottom salary close to where somebody that's already in the system has been there for a number of years, close to that person, you need to adjust them up a little bit to keep the space that's supposed to be there as you get more experience and as you get more education. It doesn't look like this contract did this. And so I know I've seen on social media quite a few veteran teachers who have got 10 years or more, and they've got master's degrees plus, you know, certain number of credits, who are saying the new salary is going to put new teachers almost the same as a teacher who has 10 years and a master's degree. And so again, you're going to have veteran teachers who are going to feel discounted and going to feel angry if somebody brand new is going to be given a salary exactly the same as theirs, and then their salary is not going to be adjusted upward. But if you do that, it's going to cost extra money. There's going to have to be more money that's provided in salaries because you're going to need to make sure you push people up to keep that space. And I was looking back, and I think what they're calling is the look back. But what it is it's compression, that you're pushing the bottom rung up and you're compressing into the salary schedule for the people who are already in the system.
That's interesting. And why? Well, I guess like if you saw my Facebook post, my post was, I have way more questions than I have answers. I don't understand why this wouldn't be like a conversation in the negotiation agreements. We probably, unless we had one of the representatives in, but you would think that would be a conversation, like looking at how increases would impact each level, each teacher, depending on their level, their step, their experience. You think that would be a part of the conversation?
You would think so, because I mean, it's happened twice now in higher ed, where we've had to do adjustments. And the first thing we had to do was make sure we negotiated the money to address compression first. So we knew that money was there before we started to then say how we were going to move that bottom rung up.
Interesting. And and what's really frustrating for me, I used to, when I was a contracted teacher, I used to always pay attention to the steps, the columns. I knew all of it. I knew everything about it. So now when I'm looking at it, it's confusing. And like I said, I've seen the contract with CCSD and CCEA from 2021 to 2023, which I'm going to post the link right now in the chat for people who would like to see it. But I think what's frustrating for me is that, the teachers have gone through this year of extensive advocating. They've had something that they've asked for, and now it's like it finally comes to fruition. And now some people are not going to be compensated according to what would be beneficial for the work that they do, all the hours they put in, and then to take care of their families. We do have a licensed teacher on. Shaquilla, I don't know if you have time, if you want to talk a little bit about maybe what teachers have been talking about at your school location, or some of the things that you're hearing about the new agreement.
Well, like Ms. Cosgrove has said, the compression is a big issue. For example, I have been working in the district for 6 years. I do not have an advanced degree. However, someone who's coming in with less years of experience is either close to what I'm going to be making or more than what I'm going to be making. In addition, on the pay scale that those of us who, been employed before this year, they bust us down in the scale. In the military, we have that saying, when you get bust down, that means you're losing rank, as Marin can attest to. So where I was at an H. On this new rendition of the salary scale, they bust me down to a C. So even though I am getting a so-called raise or whatever, my ranking is still lower on the pay scale. And so it's very disturbing and it's very disheartening, because not enough of our community members support us and they know who they are, and not enough of our colleagues support us. And those of us who came from different areas where they were making more money, of course they're satisfied. If you came from California, you're satisfied. If you came from the East Coast, you're satisfied. But what about the rest of us? I have colleagues who have advanced degrees, who either some of their degrees were not recognized, their prior years of service was not recognized. And so someone coming in with a bachelor's and a little bit of years of experience is making more than someone with a master's or 2 masters. And in some cases, a PhD, because all of their time and experience were not recognized when they were first coming in. And that's a travesty.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So Kyle is in the Facebook live chat, and he said with the new salary schedule, he will be paid $32,000 less. Like I'm about to just cry right now. $32,000 less than someone with the exact same level of education and experience, just because they are new to the district.
That
Wow.
is correct. That is correct. Those of us who of course, put employee before this year, we're only getting the 10% of what we were making, plus the PERS 1.87%. And after taxes, that's back to where we were prior to us getting that. And like I said, a lot of my colleagues have worked really hard. A lot of them had gotten their master's right before the change to the PGS system, the professional growth system. So their master's wasn't even counted because CCSD does not even recognize all universities or institutions of higher education. So there were a lot of discrepancies, but now those discrepancies have ballooned. And a lot of people are stuck between a rock and a hard place.
And so wow, this is actually pretty alarming because now it's like, okay, we're supposed to be, well, my thought and opinion is like, one, we need to make sure that we have a quality education for all of our students, regardless of ability levels, regardless of background, regardless of language. We need to have a quality education. But now what we're saying is that our educational system, we know that teachers historically have been paid at the bottom of the barrel. But now when it seems like now when we're in a conversation where we could disrupt this pay inequity, that instead of disrupting it, we're continuing to put teachers in an economic crisis. So our educational system is not only not providing a quality education, but now continuing to be a barrier in economic well-being. And that's sad. That's very sad. And I was really excited about the contract, but after talking to some teachers at a school, they were like, no, Kamilah. They're like, no, there's some other things happening that you wouldn't know unless you're able to look at the steps and see how teachers are compensated, and that it's not equitable. And, with the money, the funding that was given from the legislature, it's like, why is there an inequity with $250 million that was supposed to be given for, teacher salaries? And for me, after watching the interview with Darcy Spears and Superintendent Jara, there was a lot of blame. And at some point or another, I think our leaders need to say, okay, we need to figure out a way to fix this. Leaders are leaders because we're supposed to have solutions to problems. And to me, if you're the leader of the school, taking some ownership and saying, you know what, we missed the mark here, but we're going to do what we need to do to get it right, so that those who have taken the extra time to get their PhD, to get their master's, to engage in professional development, to do the extra classes, or is it CTE courses, that they are compensated for that work. And then for our professionals and teachers who have given the time despite the challenges, they've put in the years, 20, 30, however many years, 10, 15, whatever their years are, they should be compensated for that. So for me, I'm really disheartened to hear that what we thought would be a light at the end of the tunnel really is just dimmer than before. I don't know. Are there any other thoughts?
So I have some questions. And one of the questions I have is, obviously I'm not an educator, but this was a long time coming, and there were multiple meetings on this, but people seem to be surprised at what is actually in the contract. And I remember I was talking to a union person, and they said that when there are meetings, there weren't nearly as many people in the meetings that the contract was impacting. And that was alarming to her, because she says that means that even though maybe the people that are at the meeting might like what's in the contract because it falls in line with whatever their wants and needs are, But for the majority of the people who are not attending, it may not fall in line for them. So one of the questions I have is, since this was a vote on, I believe, by union membership, did they actually read the contract and know what was in it before they voted? Because I'm still trying to figure out, why are they surprised that this is in the contract?
Well, to my understanding, based off the interview and the response that was given by CCEA, is that there was a survey given out to the members. Now, whether or not everyone read through it, I don't know about that part, but that was the response to the interview from CCEA leadership.
Yeah, so I guess my point is that there should not be a surprise at what's in the contract that the teachers voted for. And if they are surprised, why are they
Okay, so
get mitigated before the next contract session?
so CCEA is an association that is the bargaining unit for Clark County School District teachers. However, all teachers are not a member of CCEA. So just because they represent 18,000 educators, that doesn't mean there's 18,000 educators who are due paying members of CCEA. CCEA just represents them. CCEA was part of the larger NSEA several years ago, and then they broke away from the national collective bargaining unit. Some people chose to stay with CCEA. Some people chose to be with the national organization, and some people chose not to be with either one. So as far as it being all educators or teachers employed by CCSD, that's not true, because everyone is not a member of CCEA.
Thank you for mentioning that, because that is absolutely true. Do you know how many teachers are members?
No, I do not.
Okay.
So just as, once again, as an outsider looking in, isn't that problematic that the teacher's contract is dependent on some organization that I'm just trying to figure out that they do support or that they don't support? And if they do support but are not members, why aren't they members? If I just want to make sure that we articulate well why there is a conflict in what many of us thought, like myself, was that the union is bargaining for the teachers. But it sort of sounds like they were bargaining for some of the teachers, but not all of the teachers.
So a few years ago, there was litigation, and I don't know the specifics of it. Maybe Dr. Cosgrove could be a little more detailed, but the litigation forced CCEA to not exclude non-members, in saying that they were going to still represent the collective of CCSD teachers, even though all CCSD teachers were not dues paying members. Over the years, a lot of teachers have left CCEA because of personal grievance, personal experience. I used to be a member of CCEA, and because of my experience, I did not like how they handle certain situations, and I was very, very displeased. So I took it upon myself to leave after being with them 5, almost 6 years. So everybody's situation is different, and I have spoken to different teachers where CCEA was a active obstacle instead of being an advocate for them, and some of them just weren't doing what they were supposed to. And so the confidence in CCEA has eroded for several years. So that's why a lot of teachers left them, and then a lot of teachers probably never signed up with them because of what they've seen and what they've heard.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've heard the same thing. Wow.
And that was my response.
Yeah, I'm like, wow. Okay.
Okay, so moving forward though, because there was a lot of, this was in the news, there was a lot of anguish. A lot of us regular citizens thought we were supporting, by supporting this union, we were supporting the teachers. But it's a little confusing, but it sounds like the union is only, even though they're supposed to be for all the teachers, they're only for some of the teachers.
They are just a collective bargaining unit. They broke away from the national. They are the local. There is no other bargaining unit for teachers in this state, in this county. CCEA is the only one, lawfully.
Okay, so I'm going to stick on that point, and I don't want to belabor this too much, but I think it's important, because if the collective bargaining unit is the one that's responsible for my livelihood, and what they do determines my income, its livelihood, then it just seems to me, as long as I get to vote, assuming that the membership gets to vote, regardless of how I may feel about that organization, if they're the ones that's determining my livelihood, shouldn't I be a voting member, whether I like them or not? And if the answer is no, you should not. Just kind of curious as to why not.
The court actually ruled that they couldn't exclude teachers who are not members.
Okay.
Thank
and
you.
in this bargaining, did they exclude those teachers, or is this what the majority of the teachers wanted?
So if you're a member of a club, you get certain rights. If you are dues paying members. Now, like Ms. Cosgrove said, the teachers were not allowed to be excluded because they were paid members. Now, for example, if I'm not a teacher who's a part of CCEA, I will not get their emails. In fact, if I call them and ask for any kind of help, the first thing they're going to say is, "Are you a member of CCEA?" Then they're going to say, "What's your member number?" If you're not a member and you do not have a member number, they will not help you. Period. They won't even talk to you. And I've had that personal experience as well after I left CCEA, and other teachers as well has had that experience. So if you're not a dues paying member, you're not going to be, of course, able to go to the meetings, whether it's the general meetings, or you're not even going to be eligible to be a AR, which is an area representative, which each school is supposed to have. So not all teachers are necessarily represented, because not all teachers are dues paying members.
So if the union is negotiating a contract, they can't say that there is a pay scale for members and a pay scale for non-members. Whatever the pay scale is, it has to apply to everyone who is an employee of a district. What this contract does, though, it focuses on recruitment. And so by increasing the entry level pay, is trying to bring more teachers in. So they're focusing on recruiting as a way to address teacher shortages. But the problem that we're finding is that they're not simultaneously focusing on retention of experienced teachers. And so this contract is not balanced between recruitment of new teachers and retention of current teachers. And so what they're doing is they're bringing in new teachers at the same time they're probably pushing out experienced teachers. And that directly is going to impact classroom management skills, that you're probably going to have a lot of brand new teachers are going to become the majority of teachers. And those are not the teachers who are going to be seasoned when it comes to classroom management. So when you've got children who are acting out, when you've got children who are having difficulty, a brand new teacher is not going to have the experience to know what to do. And if you've got one experienced teacher per school, that person's going to get burned out because they're going to be mentoring everyone else. That's what we found in our study, is there were a bunch of teachers who were experienced who were saying, I'm mentoring 4 or 5 long-term subs in my school, and they have no classroom management experience, and I'm burned out and I'm leaving. And so I think we're going to see that accelerate as you're just bringing in brand new people who do not have classroom management skills.
Kyle just joined on because I know he got something to say. And I I know you do, Dr. Rogers. What you got for us? Because I saw that you had posted something in the chat.
Yeah, so I just want to answer a little bit to your question. Why would someone not be in the union, right? And so I left the union this last summer, right? I come from Flint, Michigan, like the home of the OG unions, right? My dad was in the factories, right? I'm very pro-union, but I had to leave the union, right? And so there are lots of reasons people leave the union. So just to give you a couple, is I hear people have left because like bullying, petty kind of stuff is an issue. My reason for leaving was because of the legislation they supported. They supported what I described as anti-Black racist legislation that targeted Black children and pushed kids into the school to prison pipeline. And so that would be one of the reasons I left the union, my primary reason. Here is kind of the scuttlebutt I'm seeing online, why other teachers don't feel represented by the union. Some teachers are claiming, and I haven't seen any data to support this, and I always want the data when I hear claims, but people are claiming that CCEA is only able to exist as the bargaining unit because to be the bargaining unit, they have to be, my understanding, 50% of the teachers or more, or else they can be decertified, is my understanding, if I'm knowing the process is correct. And people are saying that CCEA is only able to keep that 50% because they largely recruit the new teachers. And people are claiming that CCA's interests, because they are disproportionately new teachers, that's who they represent. And that's why people like me who have 8 years of experience, the PhD, or people even more experience. I'm relatively new compared to a lot of folks. 8 ain't even that many. And so some people are claiming because CCA is largely supported by those new teachers, which again, I don't know if that's factually true. This is just kind of what people are saying in teacher online spaces and in other spaces, is that's why we ended up with the contract we did, is that prioritizing a look back for teachers who got their education was because of those reasons. So that's some background, some info.
And then the other comment that you had were about teachers not voting on the contract.
Oh, yeah. So teachers actually didn't vote on the contract. So what happened is they went to arbitration, which my understanding is that means they're the CCSD and CCA, as a part of the contracts that they've had, is when they can't come to agreement, they're required to go to an arbiter, some third party who looks at both people's deals and just decides this is what's going to happen. Okay. And so whoever has like the most viable deal or something like that, I don't know the details. Someone who has more experience with that sort of thing would know better. And so because the arbiter decided what ultimately the thing would be, neither the school board would usually have to approve a contract, but they're not approving the contract. So the CCSD School Board of Trustees is not approving the contract, and no teachers actually voted for this contract. And so that's the other piece.
Thank you. So what does this mean in your conversations? Like, what are the thoughts of teachers? Like, I know we've already had teachers leaving because there was nothing. And now it's like, there's a pretend something, and it looks like there's going to be, a lot of loss economically. Have you heard anything about what teachers are saying? From your perspective and where you are, Shaquilla and Kyle?
My friends are frustrated, like Dr. Cosgrove said, burnt out. There's a lot of things that's going on in the schools, as we know, that never gets addressed, that never sees the Board of Trustees meeting. And so I've already heard people are leaving. Like I want to leave because like this is a slap in the face. And I'm not even one of those teachers. Like when my contract time come, I'm gone. But there are teachers who spend hours, 20 extra hours a week, lesson planning, IEPs, preparing for the next day, writing things up, and we're all getting a short end of the stick. So I don't know. I am very much disenchanted, and I really don't know where we go from here other than out of the district. And that's going to leave a lot of our students in peril.
Yeah. Yeah, this is unfortunate. Like I really like my whole mood has changed, and even just like the mood in the conversation, because I know we went from last week we were celebrating. I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago when we were happy and excited, and now my whole mood, because a $32,000 difference, that's like some people don't even make that amount in a year, and that can really impact a teacher's well-being is what I'm going to say. So that really is something that, well, this is what I'm going to say. This is why we need new leadership. One, leadership that really understands and cares about the well-being of our teachers and students, and that when there's historic funding, that they do the right thing by that funding and place it where it's supposed to go. And I feel that for me personally, selecting a superintendent who really has that focus and the care for teachers who put in a lot of work. Often I get criticized, with my work with LAVAPSI, Tracy and I have gotten, I don't want to say criticized, but people have pushed back on us because the mainstream is like, you have to focus on students. And we agree, but we also need to focus on the teachers who need to be healthy, who need to have economic wellness, who need to have well-being, they need to be healed, they need to be holistic individuals because they impact students. And if our teachers aren't treated well, that can have a possible impact on the way that they're showing up every day and teaching our students. And if we have teachers who are working 2 or 3, teaching is already multiple jobs. But then if you have to put multiple jobs on top of the teaching job, you're not going to be able to show up as your best self in every way. Now, we have superhumans out there who are very ambitious and who can do, multiple jobs at a time, but we can't say that every single teacher is able to have multiple jobs and still be the best that they can for our students. So I'm a proponent of ensuring that students and teachers and all staff are well taken care of as we navigate our educational journey and experiences. It is 6:50. I don't know if there's anything anybody else wanted to talk about before we were winding down. This was a lot of good information. For me, it boils down, which most of our conversations really boil down to effective leadership. And we have to choose a leader who not only is concerned about students, but also is concerned about our teachers. And for me, leaders should be problem solvers. It's not, oh, we reached a problem, it's somebody else's fault. For me, it should be, oh, we reached a problem. As the leader, what am I going to do about it? How am I going to build partnerships? What am I going to do to ensure that teachers are not suffering or teachers have what they deserve so that they can effectively do their jobs?
So, Sister Kamilah, so you're running for school board. From your perspective, if you were a school board trustee, now that you know what you know, and now that I know what I know, because there were a lot of us regular citizens who were rooting for this contract because we thought this was going to be good for our teachers, which in turn means it would be good for our children. But what you and Dr. Cosgrove, as well as Kyle, have articulated, that is actually just the opposite. So what could the school board have done that could have mitigated this situation that you all are expressing now?
So one thing that could have been done is that one of the policies for school board members is that they are supposed to be informed of operations. And I think that's one of the breakdowns with the school board trustees and the superintendent. They're not well informed about some of the things that the that some of the decisions that the superintendent is making. And for me, I think that was a big breakdown because there was some school board members were from what I'm getting from the community members is that there were some school board members who were really like slowing this process up. And I can imagine because of the dysfunction of the board and not all school board members are really informed on the same level, that there wasn't complete information about what was going on in regards to the negotiation. And that's something that we've seen across for a couple of years with our superintendent and trustees. They haven't really gotten along, so not all the information is shared. What I would like to see as a school board member, if and when I'm elected, is that school board members would
When you're elected,
I'm elected, is that school board members, the trustees, would gain their power back and really be informed of all aspects of teacher contracts and salaries that are going to impact, or decisions that are going to impact teachers. And I think one thing that's also important is that as the trustees, the 7 of trustees, and now there's the appointed trustees as well, that they choose and pick a superintendent and hold them accountable to the policies that the board has set, hold them accountable to ensuring that there's a culture and climate that is positive, that is compassionate, that supports students and teachers, but that they have that as that ensuring that the teacher salary is fair for all teachers across the board, that is a part of a criteria for selecting a superintendent.
Okay, so that sounds great. So I know our time is running down, but I just want to articulate something from a previous conversation that we had. And this is why you have to have a school superintendent on the side of the students and the staff. This contract, from what you all have shared with me as a regular civilian tonight, is a win-win for JARA. Here's why. New teachers who come to the district are new and know very little about it, the politics and the history. So when they come to a district that just gave them a huge pay increase, they're feeling very good about the leadership of that district. And so when veteran teachers may have some complaints, the juxtaposition is always going to be, why are you all complaining when these new teachers love it? And the bargaining unit, since it is mostly composed of new teachers, mean that the bargaining unit is empowered, right? And according to the bargaining unit's position from the teachers that they seem to mostly represent, which are new, everything is going to be hunky-dory. So JARA gets to win twice because now he has the support of the new teachers, which apparently is more than the veteran teachers. And because of that, those old teachers are just complaining and they need to fall in line. And more reason why we need to have a strong school board that is looking out of the best interest of the teachers, of the students, which should also mean looking out for what's best for the teachers because they are the ones imparting knowledge to our young scholars. And that is hugely important. So then, as we are nearing closing out, maybe we should have another discussion as to how do we move forward from here? Because constantly getting teachers in and rotating them out will not benefit us in the long term.
Rodney, this is Gwen Amy. I can also say the new teachers, a lot of them don't last a year, and without the older teachers mentoring them, they're gonna have a hard time, and a lot of them are not gonna make it throughout that year. Because without a mentor, they will have no idea what they're supposed to do.
Well, that's just more bad news on top of bad news. Hopefully we will end with some good news.
So Kamilah, when we're going to publish, hopefully we'll publish the report from the advisory committee this week, and I can send it to you so that you'll have a chance to look at it, because we need to have a policy shift that focuses as much on retention of experienced teachers as we're focusing on recruitment of new teachers. Because We wouldn't be in this situation if we wouldn't have lost a large tranche of our experienced teachers over the last couple of years. That's what's causing the problem is experienced teachers are leaving. And instead of saying, why are they leaving and address those problems? Instead, we said, well, let's just figure out how to bring more new people in. And so we have to go back and actually ask, why did the experienced teachers over the last 3 years leave, and address those problems to stop people from leaving now, and to hopefully maybe recruit back some of the experienced teachers. Because you, as was just said, if you don't have classroom experience, and I've been an educator for over 22 years, you learn over time how to manage a classroom. If you don't have that skill, you are going to get eaten alive in a class with 40 kids. There's no way you're going to be successful that first year.
Okay, so that was even more bad news. Is there any good news associated with this contract? Can we pick out one thing?
I
I
don't
mean,
think there is any. I think it's like they are giving us a plate of crap on nice silverware with nice silverware and saying, just be happy you have nice silverware with the crap you're being served. And we're not holding the parties accountable. We don't just take a little bit and say, oh, I'm happy, just be happy with what you have. No, because what it does, it forces people to just acclimate to the foolishness, to not fight, to not advocate for themselves. And there's no good news. I would have rather stayed where I was, because they bust me down from an H to a C. And now somebody's coming in with 3 years experience is going to be making more than me. Where's the good news in that?
So I'll share some good news from it. It is a huge slap in the face. I'm one of the people it's probably the biggest slap in the face from. I haven't heard anyone else describe a bigger disparity between the new people and what they're currently getting than me. I'm the highest number I've heard. But that said, teachers are getting a substantial raise. We are getting about, I believe my understanding is 10% this year, 10% next year. That's thousands and thousands of dollars. It is still $30,000 less than what my peers will make who have the same years of experience in education, but I'm still going to be getting thousands of dollars in a raise, right? And that's still substantial, and that is still good. And teachers like myself are still feeling very bitter. We're hearing a lot of negativity, but there was a substantial win in terms of numbers. And I'm going to be bitter still, but I am happy to see those numbers go up. So that's still positive, I think.
Woo! Boy, that took some work to get to it, but we finally got something. And that is good news. And one of the reasons why this is important is because it's very tough to get your everyday citizen to have interest in union negotiations for teachers, mainly because many people think that teachers get paid plenty already simply because they don't know. And there was a whole lot of work to get the people, the regular citizen, to push for something better for our teachers. And this was one of those things that Sister Kamilah was saying earlier. Look, it's very difficult to get that second bite at the apple, build that with the to push the issue. And whoever the people are that needs to push to do what it needs to do. I'm not in education, but it sounds like now is the time to start working on some type of policy. But I still say that if the new teachers are doing well, and then we know that the superintendent has a plan in place now to hire teachers from foreign countries, especially countries that have a lower cost of living than us. When they come with the extra money plus having money that they've never experienced before, things will look very good for them. It would be very potentially difficult to get them to push for more in their minds. They have a lot already. So there is a danger here that needs to be addressed, and the sooner the better. From my perspective as just a citizen, supports education and all of the parameters associated with to get.
I don't see Kamilah on anymore.
Okay. Can you hear me, Dr. Cosgrove?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I don't see Kamilah and I don't see her in the participant list.
Okay, we'll give her a couple of minutes to come back on and close us out. Did you have any parting words for us?
No, I think there just needs to be some policy discussion about how to address the labor problem in CCSD so that it's balanced between retention and recruitment. Now that there's a binding contract, I don't know how they would fix that, but there's a possibility there could be litigation, I guess. But we're not going to address the problem with the violence in the schools if almost all the teachers are brand new.
And so, and that is my real concern, is with the perspective of the new teachers who don't know anything about the district yet, and how this contract kind of co-ops them on the pro superintendent side of things, because it looks like they're coming in with some extra things. And I'm happy that they are. But as you said earlier, if we're not able to retain the veteran teachers, and if we don't have enough veteran teachers to help bring along these new teachers, then we're still looking at problems down the road. And with the way the union is set up, with representing some but not all, but the bargaining thing that was a little bit confusing to me, it just seems that the power is still in the superintendent's hands. And because the power is in the superintendent's hands, I still say for him, this is a victory, and it's something that we have to address sooner than later, because we're at the bottom, and we would, as a taxpayer, I would like to see us move up for the benefit of our students, our young scholars. Okay, did Sister Kamilah come back on yet? I'm still on my phone, so I don't have all of the doodads.
I don't see her.
So normally what I do is I sort of say a couple words, and then I talk about the benefits of having a future school board trustee that is willing to spend at least an hour every week listening to her future constituents to help her have a greater understanding of what some of the issues and concerns are of all that are involved. Sister Kamilah has gone through this system. Her father was an educator at Rancho High School, also a coach. So her children are in this school system. So she has a vested interest from really the very beginning up until now, because she's in it for children. And she's also highly educated. One of the concerns that we've had about our school board is that these are people making decisions about education, but many of them have limited education, and they need to sort of integrate members of the school board with people who not only have gone through the educational system here, which Kamilah has, but also have taught here, so they have that experience and background, but they're also in higher academic community. So education is a part of their blood. Education is a part of who Sister Bywaters is. And she has a vested interest because she's in the system, her children are in the system. And it's about time someone on the school board checks all of those blocks. So, did anyone else have any comments? And if you do, here's your moment. If not, you'll have to figure out how to end this without this. Okay. Dr. Cosgrove, you may see more than I do on your screen. I don't see any hands.
Nope, I don't see anybody. I think if we all just log out, it'll automatically close.
And Dr. Cosgrove, thank you so much for joining us tonight. One of the things that I can say about you and what I hear most about you is whether we like you, what you have to say or not, are a truth teller You are researched, you're factual, and sometimes we may have to cinch our belts depending on what you say, but we know that it's coming from a place of truth and research. So thank you for being a part of our discussion tonight. Thanks to everyone who attended, those of you who are Facebook Live. Appreciate your comments. Those comments go and look at them through the week. So it's just the we will look at them through the week. I will also give her a call as soon as I get off Zoom to check on her. And I hope everyone has a good week. Thank you for joining us. Let's get the same time next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good night.